All right, week 11 of the fantasy football season, and your weekly reminder that kickers are people too. I'm ranking all 30 starting kickers for fantasy in week 11. Let's not waste any more time and hop right on into it. All right, just two kickers on by this week. Michael Badgley of the Indianapolis Colts and Blake Group of the New Orleans Saints. So if you have either of these guys, we'll get you fixed right on up for week 11. All right, just three guys in our start 'em every week category. If you got these guys, go ahead and just roll them out there. Eddie Pinheiro of the San Francisco 49ers, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys, and Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really good matchups for all three of our guys this week as well. All right, first up, Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Really tough week for Arizona last week against Seattle, but I do think there is some upside for this offense. They're taking on a 49ers defensive unit that has been really, really banged up. They can't stop much of anybody these days. I mean, good Lord, they're so injured. It's not really their fault. So Ryland, not the worst start this week. I would try and avoid him. I think there are better options out there. But if you're in a tough spot, don't have really a kicker to go with, you've been playing it week by week, maybe a decent streaming option for you guys in week 11. All right, my man Will the Thrill Reichard of the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears in Minnesota. And we've seen kind of some up and down performances from this Vikings offense, but there is one consistency, and it's Will Reichard, and his head coach trusts him from distance. Will kicks a lot of field goals, maybe not the most touchdown opportunities, but they do kick field goals. And the Chicago's Bear defense has not been great. They've thrived off of turnovers. They haven't been really stopping too many people out there. The biggest problem is, what kind of game are we going to get out of J.J. McCarthy? Now, it seems like it's an every other week thing for J.J. McCarthy, so we should have a decent week this week. I think that's the only thing that's keeping me from putting him in the love matchup. It's just a little bit too much uncertainty. But he's a fine start, one of the best kickers in the NFL. He's great from distance, super accurate. And now that there's no camera wires hanging down, he shouldn't miss. Will Reichard, a fine start for week 11. Okay, Joey Slye of the Tennessee Titans coming off a bye, taking on the Houston Texans. This is one of the best defenses in football. And I don't know if anything's going to get fixed in Tennessee. He was great to start the year, made a million field goals, but things have just gotten so much worse in Tennessee. I'm not playing Joey Slye. I don't care what the potential is. I don't care, especially against this Texans defense. It could be a long, long, long Sunday for the Tennessee Titans. Okay, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders, easily the most unreliable kicker who still has a job in the NFL. I honestly don't know how he's not been fired yet. He just misses kicks left and right. But the Raiders are taking on the Dallas Cowboys. This is one of the worst defenses in football. And we've seen the Raiders offense actually look pretty good the last few weeks with Brock Bowers back in the lineup. I know they played a really tough Denver team, but I thought they looked all right. I thought they looked competent. So if you have to play Daniel Carlson, I think you can just because of the matchup. But don't be mad at me when he misses a easy field goal for you, because he's about as unreliable as it gets. But it's just such a juicy matchup. So if you want to take a big roll of the dice and think Carlson could be your guy to put you over the edge, go ahead and try it. Okay, Riley Patterson of the Miami Dolphins heading on over to Madrid to take on the Washington Commanders. We don't ever know what we're going to get out of this Dolphins team. Like 17 plus point disparity in 4 consecutive games, and they're 2-2. So 2 blowout losses, 2 blowout wins for them. And Washington's defense is horrendous. So if we get a good Dolphins performance, I think there's some opportunity here. I don't love playing international games, but I don't think you have to bench him. He's finally out of the bench category. Shout out Riley Patterson. If you have to play him, I think you can. I think there is a potential here. We could see some movement of the football. The biggest question is, Dolphins are all over the place, and international games are always kind of weird, but they do like their kicks overseas, so that could give you a little bit of extra incentive to make some field goals. So put Riley Patterson, if you have to, for week 11. All right, Zane Gonzalez of the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, I don't know what to do with Atlanta. They're taking on the Carolina Panthers. They are at home. Again, he was unemployed for a reason. There's been no consistency with this Atlanta Falcons team whatsoever. Coming back from Europe, who knows what they're going to look like. I'll put them in the if you have to category because, again, there is potential that they could just score a bajillion points against this Panthers team. Who knows from a week-to-week basis? With Atlanta, easily the most frustrating team to deal with in fantasy football. All right, Tyler Loop of the Baltimore Ravens had a really nice week for us last week. Was almost perfect, 5 of 5. Did miss a longer field goal against the Vikings. Now, a little bit different kicking conditions this week at Cleveland. We know that could be a terrible weather spot for us, but This Ravens team is back, and the Browns defense is still pretty good, so we could see some red zone stops for them. I love this matchup. Tyler Loop still in a great spot with a rebounding Baltimore Ravens team. Couple of misses here and there keeping him from our top category, but I think it's another great spot for our guy in week 11. Okay, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs coming off a bye, heading to the Denver Broncos. Butker's been a little inconsistent this year from what we expected, but this Chiefs offense has been really good, and they're taking on a very good Denver Broncos defense. High altitude game, we could see a bunch of field goals from distance in this one. I think this is going to be a back and forth rock fight. I think he's a fine start for us this week. It could turn into a touchdown matchup, though, is my only concern if the Chiefs do have to get into a shootout here and score some points. So give me Butker in the fine to start category for week 11. All right, Andy Borregales of the New England Patriots. The Patriots, one of the hottest teams on the market right now. They are just all over the place. Everyone's buying their shares of the Patriots. Who can blame them? Drake May looks awesome. This team doesn't kick a whole lot of field goals, though. They are a touchdown team. Taking on the New York Jets. The Jets are terrible. Thursday night games could be a little weird, but we've seen a lot of blowouts lately. And I think if we're going to see a blowout, it's going to be on the Patriots side. I think it's a fine start for us here in week 11. I think the Patriots are just a good football team. They score points. They move the football. Jets are pretty bad. Give me Andy as a fine to start in week 11. Okay, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Been a pretty big letdown for us so far. Not that Boswell's been a letdown, but this Steelers offense in general, just they cannot score points. They're looking really rough. Now they get some reprieve this week, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, easily the worst defense in the NFL. I love this matchup once again. I wish we could put Boswell up higher, but Aaron Rodgers, the old man in this offense, is just way too inconsistent for us. But it's a fantastic matchup. If we can't put up a big number in fantasy this week, I don't know what we're going to do for the rest of the season in Pittsburgh on offense. Give me Chris Boswell as a love matchup for week 11. All right, the thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis of the Los Angeles Rams, filling in. Josh Carty out. Mevis in 6 for 6 on his extra points last week. But they're taking on a Seattle Seahawks team that is an absolute wagon right now. This is one of the best defenses in football, behind one of the best offenses in football with the Rams. Biggest problem here is they don't kick field goals, LA. They score touchdowns. I think they're a little scarred by Carty. Plus, we haven't seen him kick a field goal. I don't know if we can trust him yet in a big game, in a big spot. Huge for them. I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. It's just a little too risky for my blood. I think there is some potential for some points here, especially some field goal opportunities. Just don't know what we're going to see. If you want to roll the dice, you trust the Rams, you're trusting the thicker kicker, go ahead and roll out Harrison Mevis in week 11. Okay, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been a wild roller coaster for us McPherson fans this year, but things are looking up. The offense is pretty good. They're taking on a atrocious Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Problem is they score a hell of a lot more touchdowns than field goals they're kicking. I think he's a fine to start this week. We just know they're so bad on that Pittsburgh back end. We could see Joe Flacco. Maybe we see Joe Burrow out there at quarterback, moving the football up and down the field. Interesting to watch here. McPherson, I wish he was a little bit more consistent. I think all the bad games from his team have kind of put him out of a funk. Put him in the fine to start category for week 11, though, against an inferior defense. Okay, Santos of the Chicago Bears taking on my Minnesota Vikings. Kicking indoors, great spot to kick. And this Bears offense has moved the football a little bit, and this Vikings defense likes to give up field goals. They bend, they don't break. They give up threes, they don't give up sevens. So I think this is a really good spot for Santos. Kicking in climate control helps out a ton. I think he's a fine to start this week for fantasy. I think it's a good environment to kick in against a perfect defense where they give up field goals, they don't give up touchdowns. Give me Santos as a fine to start in week 11. Szmyt of the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are just, we're the Browns. They're terrible. They're taking on the Ravens. Bench them. Don't even think about it. This offense is really bad. We can't trust them to do anything. Go ahead and bench Szmyt in fantasy. And I'm not buying Szmyt whatsoever this weekend, so I'm heading straight on over to Underdog, taking Szmyt under 1.5 field goals made. And if you guys are new to Underdog, make sure you sign up using the link down below, promo code THECATCH. You're going to get a free pick 'em for week 11. Take that pick 'em and take Szmyt under 1.5 field goals made. And if both hit, you're going to automatically double your cash entry. And on top of that, Underdog is giving all new users who deposit with promo code THECATCH a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And as soon as you play $5 on Underdog, they're automatically going to give you an additional $50 to use towards your Week 11. Again, that's new users signing up using promo code THECATCH. Be sure to take advantage of all of Underdog's exclusive Week 11 NFL offers. Okay, Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Jaguars are the most infuriating team ever to deal with whatsoever. This offense, they moved the football. They did score against Houston, so that is positive. They're taking on the Chargers here. Chargers are an injured team, but the Chargers defense has been pretty solid the last few weeks overall. I still think it's a fine start. I think we could have some field goal opportunities out there. Do I love having to trust Trevor Lawrence with my kicker success? Absolutely not, but it is a good matchup. We could see some field goals, and Cam Little has been absolute nails from downtown. So any sort of league where you got distance bonus, Cam Little is your guy in fantasy. Okay, Ryan Fitzgerald of the Carolina Panthers, after a game-winning kick in Green Bay, gets a field goal blocked against New Orleans. Just a terrible performance all around for the Carolina Panthers. Taking on the Falcons, I can't trust him, man. I want to wrap my arms around this Panthers team. I did it. I got burned by it. I'm not going to get burned again. Go ahead and bench Ryan Fitzgerald for fantasy in Week 11. Just too much of a headache. Too much of an annoyance for me to deal with. Okay, Matt Prater of the Buffalo Bills. The Bills laid a complete egg and totally let us down. I'm going to put him back in the fine to start category here. Take it on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have a great run defense, except for Travion Henderson gashing them a couple of times last week. But we've seen this Bills offense struggle when they aren't able to run the ball. I'm getting very concerned here. So this is an apprehensive fine to start, because on paper, the Bills should be able to move the football. They should be able to score points, kick field goals, score some touchdowns over there, give you a solid day. But I do have a weird feeling that Buffalo could be in for a struggle. They are at home, so that does help. Put Prater in the fine to stat category, but I got a weird feeling about him this week once again. Okay, Nick Folk of the New York Jets. He's been a solid kicker. He just hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities, but the Jets are scoring points the last few weeks. Problem is, playing on Thursday, taking on the Patriots. You cannot run the football against the Patriots, and the Jets can only run the football. They can't throw. They can't throw the football. Go ahead and bench Nick Folk. I'm not going to deal with Justin Fields having to throw the ball to be successful for my kicker. Go ahead and bench him. There are better options out there in Week 11. All right, Brandon McManus of the Green Bay Packers. I hope he didn't tear his quad or blow out his hamstring or whatever injury he's been dealing with, trying to practice kick a 64-yarder and then shank a Potamus over there at the end of that Eagles game. They are taking on the Giants. This Packers offense has really just been awful to watch. Not good. Not a good Giants team, though. You can run all over them. I'll put him in the fine to start category for this week if he's healthy. I don't know, man. Green Bay's got this weird vibe going. McManus as well. He's got the injury. He's missed some kicks. But this, on paper, is a very good matchup here in Week 11. Okay, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions. Kind of a weird spot for them. Philly's offense did not look good against Green Bay. Now, Detroit's defense isn't the best in the world. They're kind of all over the place, actually, if you think about Detroit. But I'm going to put them in the find to start category. Not the if you have to, excuse me. Find to start category. I think we see a better performance from the Eagles. Going to have to kick some field goals. I think this is going to be a back and forth game. Points are going to be what you need to win. So no going for it on extra fourth downs unless it's 4th and a foot, because you just want to take your points when you can get them in this game. Give me Jake Elliott as a fine start in Week 11. Okay, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't like this matchup. I don't like the vibes from Denver. Their offense has been atrocious. I don't know, man. Things are weird. The Chiefs defense coming off a bye, they could have something game planned up for young Bo Nix. I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. I think I would just try to avoid Will Lutz. This team also is hyper aggressive. They go for it a lot on 4th down, especially in the red area. Sean Payton just really doesn't care over there. So put Will Lutz in the if you have to for Week 11. Okay, welcome back our king, Younghoe Koo for the New York Giants taking on the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson going to be in at quarterback most likely. If it's Wilson, go ahead and just bench Koo no matter who it is. It's not worth the risk out there. I love the guy. I hope he's successful. It's just a bad spot, especially Green Bay coming off of back-to-back home losses. I think we're going to get an inspired performance from Green Bay. Go ahead and bench Younghoe Koo for week 11. Okay, Cameron Dicker, the kicker, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chargers offense, you know, man, they're banged up, they're hurt, but they're still showing some fight. Dicker hitting his career long last week. I think we're going to ride the mojo here. He's pretty close to getting bumped up into the start every week category. I just wish the Chargers had one of their 2 tackles, and I'd put him in there. He's been reliable. We've just seen some inconsistencies with this offense. Taking on the Jaguars, loving this matchup for week 11. I think Cameron Dicker has a big week for you once again in fantasy. Go ahead and punch him in that starting lineup if you got him. Loving Cameron Dicker for week 11. Okay, Max Wright of the Houston Texans filling in for our guy Kaimi Fairbairn. Perfect for us last week. 2 for 2 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. Houston's offense actually had a little bit of juice now. Weird matchup again this week. Tennessee coming off a bye. I don't know what we're going to see from this Texans offense. Is like Davis Mills the savior? Is CJ Stroud going to lose his job? I highly doubt it. I'll put Max Wright in the if you have to category. I don't know, man. I can't trust this Texans offense for 2 consecutive weeks. I don't care how bad the Titans are. This offense has been so dreadful for the year. So go ahead and put him in the if you have to category for week 11. Okay, Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions. Some real inconsistencies this year from him as a kicker, but I do think Detroit is going to be in a dogfight against Philadelphia. This Eagles defense looked pretty good. I think they're going to have to kick some field goals. Like I said, take points. So I'm going to put him right next to Jake Elliott in the fine to start category. The Lions, another team though, ultra aggressive. They go for touchdowns, and Bates' like inability to kick from distance this year kind of limits some things for you. So put him in the fine to start category for you in week 11. Okay, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks team has been an absolute wagon out there. And you know what? Taking on the Rams team that has a pretty good defense. I think this is going to be an offensive affair. I think Jason Myers could have a big week for us. Doesn't have the biggest leg out there, but I could see the Seahawks struggling in the red area, kicking some field goals. This offense has been very touchdown heavy. I think the Rams provide some pushback. I'm loving Jason Myers for this matchup in this week. Got a great feeling about it. Don't expect anything crazy from distance, but I think we could see some stops. How about 3 field goals for us, plus some touchdowns? Could have a very nice week for us in fantasy. I'm actually loving this matchup in week 11. And finally, Matt Gay of the Washington Commanders, Marcus Mariota at quarterback, taking on the Miami Dolphins in Madrid. European game, big-time field goals. This Dolphins defense is really bad, but I just think it's really hard to trust the offense as a whole in Washington. I just don't know, man. I'm going to put him in the bench category, I think. I just don't want to deal with this. Could be an ugly performance because we just saw the Dolphins defense do a pretty good job against the Bills. So too much of a risk for me, way too much out there. There's better options out there. Go ahead and bench Matt Gay for week 11. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Let me know down in the comments below any of your fantasy kicker questions. I'm here to help you out there. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got daily fantasy content, all the videos you guys could ever need. Your must starts at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back, your must start defenses, guys you should stream, guys to get right before that trade deadline that is fastly approaching. We got it all for you down there. If you want to check out more of me, check out the link down below. I'm talking all sorts of football content besides just fantasy. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.